What's up, YouTube? All right, so today, uh, we're waiting on the Fortnite tournament, which that's gonna be in the stream. And if you're not watching the stream, what you doing? That video, by the way, sparked the change for the thing. We were just talking about that Minecraft video, the don't turn left one. I forgot what it was called. Change what sparked? What did it change? What do you mean? But for now, while I'm eating, we're gonna be watching this video. It is called "Terrifying Things Scientists Have Seen in Space." Oh, it changed your writing. I mean, that's W. That's a W because
Ever seen in
it's a
space.
it's a good thing to honestly base off of, because that was crazy. That was crazy. Spooky. Yeah, maybe.
The Oh
Honestly,
My
it
God
probably is gonna
particle.
be.
It
Space
is
is
October 15th.
Space is crazy. Yo, if y'all haven't been catching up on space, y'all have been living under a rock, like Patrick Star, low key. Because space is insane. Did you know? I've been watching a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson recently. Because I've been. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move you like that. I've been watching a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? And he talks about a lot on his podcast. Really, I would have never guessed. Yo, kick this guy out, mods. No, but I was saying that's it's a little insane. We have like something in the sextillion amount of planets that we know of, and the universe just keeps expanding. So, low key, if you don't think that there is life out there, you're just dumb. I'm sorry. You're just dumb. Yes, like Alex just said. Yes, honestly, if there it was the are you saying yes to the sextillion thing? I'm pretty sure. Cuz it's insane, honestly. All right, enough of my rambling. Let's get on to the video.
1991. And you and your best scientist bro are hanging out at the Fly's Eye Observatory in Utah. You're
Yeah,
doing what you do
typically.
every evening. You're looking into space for ultra high
see.
energy
Yeah.
cosmic rays, trying to find something cool and learn more about the universe. This night was like any other night, if not quieter. There was no new discoveries and nothing to even observe whatsoever. And while you and your scientist buddy were just throwing back scientific beers,
I know, it
you
looks
notice a
good.
light blinking on your desk. And it's a signal that the Fly's Eye Observatory is picking up something strong. And because this is the most action you've had all night, you decide to take a look at the data. And what you see on the chart blows your mind. As your scientific jaw drops to the scientific floor, all your scientific buddy could say is, "What do you see?" And while thoughts and ideas were bouncing around your mind at a million miles per hour, the only words you could utter were, "Oh my God." Later leading to the name of this now iconic particle. The Oh My God particle, which has no relation to the God particle, which came later, was an ultra high energy cosmic ray that was obviously detected by the Fly's Eye Observatory in Utah in 1991. And at the time, the Oh My God particle
Did anyone just get confused? Also, because it sparks the theory of the big rip where the universe will eventually rip itself apart. Like, because the universe keeps expanding. I mean, I don't fully understand that, but that low key kind of makes sense. Oh, okay. I mean, that low key makes sense, necessarily, I think. I don't know. He's talking about this big thing, right? So let's recap, right? He talked about this big thing that happened.
was
The
detected
oh my
by the
god
Fly's
particle. Oh, okay, okay, I get it, I get it. So the particle in the sky, they saw it in 1990 something, 91, I think, and they were having a few beers, and they're like, "What the hell? What the hell was that? What the hell did we just witness?" Which I feel like that's most discovery. It's just you and the boys hanging out, and you're like, "Yo, I didn't know I could fart through my mouth." Has that happened to y'all?
Eye Observatory in Utah in 1991. And at the time, the Oh My God particle was the highest energy cosmic ray ever to be observed. And as of today, in 2026, that record has still yet to be broken, making this particle very fitting of its name. Now, interestingly,
What?
in
What do you mean? To what I said? No, it's all right, bro. Don't worry about it.
somewhat unsurprisingly, this experimental observatory that was built on a military base in Utah was actually specifically built for this one purpose. The so-called high-resolution fly's eye detector was literally meant to only capture ultra-high energy cosmic rays, and that it definitely did. You see, the reason why the Oh My God particle is so significant and the reason why it was so shocking to the scientists who first observed it is because it wasn't only just an anomaly or something that was rare, the energy and speed in which the Oh My God particle possessed was thought to be scientifically impossible prior to its discovery. And even after its observation, it was highly questioned and thoroughly ensured that this wasn't just a miscalculation. For a bit more context, we don't quite know what type of particle the Oh My God particle was, although we can assume that it was a proton due to the fact that nearly 70% of high energy cosmic rays are protons. However, fortunately, what we do know is the sheer insane power that this mysterious particle possessed. For starters, the collision energy of the Oh My God particle was 40 million times more powerful than the highest energy protons ever produced in the world's strongest particle accelerator.
Whoa. That's insane. So you're saying this one particle could low-key just evaporate us without us even knowing, pretty much? Because of how big it is? Or am I understanding this wrong? That's insane. 4 times faster than our particle accelerator. That's like a sustainable, insane amount of energy. If I'm not wrong.
That's right. This one random particle was
said I was right.
40 million times stronger than the strongest particle that we intentionally accelerated.
I said 4. I missed a few zeros. Holy crap, dude. Yo, what are we doing wrong? Yo, scientists, get on this, bro. 40 million? 40... By 40 million. Oh my gosh, dude.
And while that obviously is impressive, it's also a bit deceiving. Because although it technically had 40 million times more energy, not all of that energy was available. And the definition of availability in the context of particle collision essentially means the amount of energy that is actually able to create new particles in the event of a collision. And it's been calculated that in the event of an actual particle collision, the Oh My God particle would have had roughly 200 times.
Hey, also, do you know how systematically our existence is according to science? If we were above 5%, then life would not exist because atoms would have been unstable and would not support life. Yeah, we're like, it was a 5% chance, or it's something. Is it smaller than that, that like we were even able to exist as humans? It's like a 5% chance for any planet for that to occur. So, like, in the 6 point whatever sextillion planets we have, it's a 5% chance of any life. Yeah, that's insane. That there has to be life somewhere else. Easily. 5% is easy dubs, dude. I get that in an RNG Roblox game any day.
Times more energy than the most energetic particle in the world's best particle accelerator. Which is, once again, still impressive, but not 40 million times more impressive. But we've still got more stats to discuss. Going back to the type of particle that the Oh My God particle even is. Assuming that this particle was a proton to begin with, we can assume its rest mass and do the following calculation to determine how fast the particle was going. I'm not even going to try to pretend to understand what I'm looking at right now, but
I know, I'm sorry I keep pausing, but what the hell I'm looking at? Yo, a baby started slapping his head on a calculator. YouTube, I'm kidding, and Twitch. That didn't really happen. By a higher being. Wait, so was it just coincidence we exist, or were we created by a higher being? That is like the biggest equation, right? Or I mean, the biggest problem that we've always had with science versus religion. What I think about it is that there can be a higher being. We just don't know of his or her existence, or they, or whatever the being is. It might not have a PNR or not. But even then, I feel like of our standpoint now, we use religion as a kind of gap, to like what's it called? A gap for science can't fill, if that makes sense. Almost like magic. Magic versus science in kind of a way. That's like my thought process on it. Good answer, nephew. This is what you said me, bro. I get with you, dude. That's what I feel like it is. But that's my understanding of, or that's what I believe in. I believe there's a God. I pray to a God. I don't believe in church God because I don't believe in church. But it's not even a coincidence to say that we exist. It could go either way, and that's the crazy thing. We literally do not know, and I don't think we'll know in our lifetime unless scientists discover immortality somehow. But let's get on this. What I was saying. How the hell does this even make sense? I think in math, as far as I got, 1 minus, that's it. And I'm good right there. That's all I got.
This is the calculation that scientists use to calculate the speed in which one of these particles is traveling. And I suppose using this specific formula, assuming that the particle was a proton, then it's safe to assume that this particle is literally traveling at 0.99999999.
I'm a math nerd and I still don't get it. I don't blame you, bro. I don't blame you.
9999999999957 times the speed of light. Basically a tiny fraction less than the literal speed of light, which is obviously insane. But we're still not done. The Oh My God particle wasn't only fast and energetic, it was also photogenic, or at least photongenic. And what I mean by that is that the Oh My God particle literally had 100 quintillion times more photon energy than visible light, which is honestly hard to even conceptualize.
Wait.
But just to put it into context.
So does that mean that it creates other colors, or am I thinking of that wrong? So that photon is so strong, it has such a more diverse color palette than us as humans even know? Maybe. Real answer.
Here's
That's
a
what I
side-by-side
understand.
comparison.
That's what
the
I
Oh My
understand
God
from it.
particle was
Someone in the
20
comments tell me.
million times more photongenic than the highest photon energy measured ever in electromagnetic radiation. I think it goes without saying that the Oh My God particle has definitely earned its name, and just by looking at its stats, it's hard to imagine how rare this type of particle even is. And I do understand that this first section was very much so technical and in the weeds, and these numbers really didn't mean much, but hopefully, if nothing else, the massive multipliers of all of these numbers kind of just goes to show how insane the God particle was, even if you're like me and know nothing about particles at all. The God particle was something really cool that was seen in space, and we're only just getting started. The Boötes Void. The year is 1981. You are an astronomer working alone, once again, late at night. Today was like any other day, and you were tasked with doing a galactic survey of redshift in the universe. And while the specifics of a redshift survey doesn't matter, what does matter is what you are about to discover. As you are surveying the universe, you know...
Did you know there's a planet that rained glass sideways? Wait. So wait, how? It rains, so the cloud is on my side and it rains that way or that way. That doesn't even make sense. Is it because the gravitational pull is on either side of the planet? And the chemical reaction for whatever glass is evaporated and temperature or whatever that it has to be for that. It rains east to west. That is insane. I didn't even know that was a thing. It rains glass. You think we'll survive that one? And the pressure is too big. Oh. It makes glass. That makes sense. So, how does the sand go up, though? Wait. Am I dumb? So sand goes up, it gets pressurized because the pressure of the gravitational pull of that planet and makes raining glass east to west. Dude, that That's insane, bro. That's actually the craziest thing I've heard. I didn't know that. That's insane.
Notice something you have not seen before. Your monitoring device has gone from receiving a lot of information to essentially no information in the matter of a few degrees. And while at first it looks like the tool you're using has simply stopped working or is no longer working correctly, but after moving it and recalibrating it, you notice that you are getting the same results. To you, this is interesting because this almost reminds you of what happened when you go over a void in the universe. However, this void is different. It's nowhere near the size of the voids you've measured in the past, leading you to believe it's not a void. Although,
and Uranus has a diamond crust. I think I did know about that. I didn't know it was diamond, but I think I knew something about that. That's pretty cool, though.
Upon further inspection, you realize that you haven't...
I am saying the solar system is low-key the most interesting, or not even the solar system, the entire universe is the most interesting thing ever. Dude, if they sign up content creators to go up to space to live there, yo, I'm over here. Sign me up. I'll be down. Maybe.
Just discovered a new void in the universe. You have just discovered the largest known void in the visible universe. And this void is so big, in fact, that it's known as the Great Nothing. This is a terrifying start, and we're only just getting started. In the first section, we talked about so many numbers and facts about something that was very much so real and happening. But the Boötes void is literally the exact opposite. The only numbers I can discuss are the numbers...
It's the most scariest yet the most intriguing thing to explore. Yeah, that's true. I do agree on that. Because there's so many possibilities, and even with those possibilities, it could be so dangerous. I mean, we could literally die at any second. Let alone even things on Earth. The sun could just fucking blow up, and we're dead. We don't even know. 1 second, dude, I could be gooning, and I blew up from the sun.
Representing the lack that exists within this void. You see, as you look at a map of universe, the more...
I'm gonna look like the exploding squirrel.
More and more you zoom out, the more and more you notice this sort of web or filament structure that exists through all of the superclusters of galaxies in the visible universe. Obviously, the natural byproduct of this web-like structure is the voids or gaps between these clusters. These voids alone aren't necessarily rare, and they're not completely empty either. They do contain smaller galaxies, although they're not nearly as populated as the superclusters that are more observable. Although the reason why the Boötes void is so significant is, well, of course, because of its sheer size. From one end to another, the Boötes void is 330 million light years across. Of course, meaning if you were traveling at the speed of light, it would take you 330 million years to cross it. Now, for context, if the Boötes void wasn't a void, it was actually a supercluster, it would be safe to assume that this area of universe could contain up to 2,000 galaxies. However, because the Boötes void is, well, a void, it only contains just 60 galaxies, which, relatively speaking, means it's more or less empty. As of right now, the center of the Boötes void is 700 million light years from Earth. Although, interestingly, if the Milky Way galaxy was put smack dab in the middle of the Boötes void, astronomers on Earth would not have known about any other galaxy until the 1960s. Because of the sheer lack of anything around our galaxy, any technology prior to the 1960s would not have been able to detect any other galaxies.
Do you think that would be scarier if we only were in space? Like, there was just Earth? It was not even just Earth. Our solar system that we have right now, nothing else. I think that's scarier. Because, like, the intimate death that we have, like, the sun is what's going to kill us, and that's all it is. There's nothing else. I think that's scary. Yo, if there's life on that planet, I feel bad for them, bro.
Only imagine the scientific revelation happening in the 60s if we were in the middle of the void and had just discovered a new galaxy for the first time. And while voids are common and natural in the universe, something about this void being extremely large is, at the very least, eerie. And just some small part, terrifying. Okay, this is off topic, but Do you smell that? It smells like you
No.
didn't shower. And if that's the case, I feel bad for your anime body pillow.
Yo!
In case you did, you're
what's
obviously
going
not using the
on?
right stuff, which is why this video is sponsored by Cheeky Soap. Cheeky Soap is my favorite soap
Oh,
company
W
obsessed
sponsor,
with
W
the smell
sponsor.
good, eager to that Cheeky Arts, giving Cheeky the scrappy look. The Virgo cluster and your fellow astronomer are in the observatory currently overlooking the Virgo cluster. The Virgo cluster is
Like I
of
do.
particular interest to you because you think it looks cool. But what you are on the verge of discovering goes far beyond just being cool. As you are looking through the Virgo cluster, you notice a weird phenomenon. As you point your telescope in a specific direction, you notice that your telescope appears to be looking at, well, nothing in particular. However, all of your equipment seems to be suggesting that you are looking at a galaxy. This is obviously perplexing because you can see directly that there is no galaxy in your direct line of sight. However, all of the data you are getting seems to be telling a different story. As you look closer through the telescope, you can
That's
see
further
a
than
few
the telescope
galaxies
ones?
in the distance, and perhaps your devices are mistaking two galaxies for one larger, closer galaxy. Although, based on all of the information you're getting, it appears that you are looking at a galaxy that you almost can't see. And that's when it hits you. You are looking at a galaxy, but you're looking at a galaxy no one has ever seen before.
What? Whoa, that's crazy. And craziest thing that I heard is that there's maybe life in our solar system, micro life, but still, from underneath the crust of a moon, there is an ocean that has the potential to hold life. I have heard that. Right? It's Titan, right? The one that is around Saturn. Now, in our solar system, it has the most potential to actually be able to have life. Not too much intellectual life, like to our stake, but animals or something like that, or even micro life, because we found micro life on Mars, not the moon, but Mars. That's pretty cool.
Galaxy known as a dark galaxy.
That, like, yo, low-key Subnautica in real life, I'd be down.
Or an ultra-diffuse galaxy. Dark galaxies are quite interesting, and it's taken nearly 30 years of studying them to have a significant amount of information on them. However, the more we study dark galaxies, the more we are left with questions rather than answers. As I described in the intro story, which I totally just made up, I have no idea if that's how astronomy equipment works, it was discovered that yes, dark galaxies are such a thing. Although not much was known about them at the time. Although fast forward to the modern day, we now know a lot more about these interesting and rare galaxies. Dark galaxies or ultra-diffuse galaxies are known as such because
Yeah, Subnautica was a whole planet of ocean life that was taken over by an ancient civilization to help the planet. And that civilization eventually died off. And then we got there as humans. Also, if you like space, watch the movie Interstellar. I really do have to do that. Loki, I might make a Patreon. I don't know yet. I feel like I need more viewers for that. But I low-key want to wait for that to watch it with a whole viewer base. And I want to do that on Patreon. I think that'll be so much fun.
they are extremely low in luminosity. They don't produce a lot of light, and they are very hard to see. They're so hard to see, in fact, that they're actually sometimes referred to as see-through galaxies, because it is actually easier to see galaxies further in the distance behind them than it is to see the actual galaxy itself. And the reason why these dark galaxies are so dark is due to their lack of star-forming gas.
The most scientifically accurate black hole in Hollywood. Oh yeah, that's true. I've seen that image. It's insane. I can't wait to watch that movie. I need to watch it. I low-key do.
Which results in these galaxies having fewer new stars and being almost exclusively full of old dying stars. For reference, here's an example on screen. This is a picture of NGC 1052 DF2, and it's a dark galaxy that was discovered in 2018, and we'll discuss it more later, but you basically can't see it. For reference, this is the Milky Way, obviously the iconic swirly ball of light that we all associate with the term galaxy. As you can tell, one of these galaxies is not like the other. Although interestingly, they're not as different as they may seem. Dark galaxies typically have a similar size to our Milky Way. However, the mass of these dark galaxies is much more similar to galaxies that are way more tiny than the Milky Way. For reference, the Milky Way is estimated to have anywhere from 200 to 400 million stars. Although a dark galaxy of the same size would only have roughly 1 billion stars, compared to the nearly 400 billion the Milky Way has. That fact alone makes the whole see-through aspect of a see-through galaxy
Have a
make a
fun
lot more
time eating,
sense.
bro.
But it definitely doesn't answer every question we have about dark galaxies. From their original discovery in 1984 to the modern day, scientists have observed two opposite traits when it comes to dark galaxies.
Yep.
Some dark galaxies, unsurprisingly, contain an extreme amount of dark matter. And it's believed by scientists that some literally consist almost primarily of dark matter due to
Be
the
back,
lack of
though.
stars.
I make
Now,
it up.
dark matter
Bet.
being present in a galaxy is not surprising whatsoever. And it's believed by most scientists that dark matter is a necessity for galaxies to form. Now, that's all fine and well until you understand that in recent years, like we're talking 2018, there has been dark galaxies that have been discovered with basically no dark matter whatsoever. And what this means, honestly, I don't know, besides the fact that we really don't know much about dark galaxies. But of
They're
course,
kinda
the
just
mystery doesn't
invisible,
end there. Because
right?
while some dark galaxies have
Like-
almost all dark matter,
They're like invisible galaxies. That's kind of weird. We can't see them. They're like clear. It's made out of glass, definitely.
and some dark galaxies almost have no dark matter. The common denominator between both dark galaxies is the fact that we don't know how they're formed. There are some scientists that theorize that these galaxies are old and formed from the earliest galaxies, which is why they are out of star-forming gas. But yeah, these galaxies are rather mysterious and elusive, and almost kind of seem like the ghosts of galaxies, because you can barely see them, they're translucent, we don't know how they're formed, they're on either end of the extreme when it comes to dark matter, and we still don't know a ton about them. And I guess one more funny fact about dark galaxies, which has nothing to do with the galaxy itself, is that if you go to the Ultra Diffuse Galaxy Wikipedia page, you will see that it's discovered by two men, Alan Sandabich and Bruno Bengelli. And if you
Bruno
hover over
Mars.
Alan's name, it'll show you a picture of him and tell you about all of his credentials. You know, American astronomer from California, blah, blah, blah. But if you hover over Bruno, there is no picture, and all it says is Bruno Bengelli is a Swiss curler. And I can only assume
What's
this is
up,
like
Ben?
an incorrect hyperlink, but if this is accurate, that's kind of hilarious. And it also reminds me of that one like Impractical Joker sketch where Q and Murr are giving a presentation, and Q gives all of his credentials when introducing himself,
Yeah,
and then
this
Murr
is
has to
not a
introduce
Fortnite
himself as
tournament. We're
Dandy
finishing this
Chickens
video
with
first, 'cause I
no
was just eating.
qualifications whatsoever.
And then we're
But yeah,
doing the Fortnite
dark
tournament.
galaxies are weird, and for the longest time, we didn't even know they were there. Rogue planets. Have you ever been laying on your bed on a Friday night, no
Yo,
texts
what
on
is
your
the
phone,
picture to
no
the left?
messages, no
It's
calls,
insane.
just you watching your favorite YouTube video, eating a snack all by yourself? To some, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. And to some, that sounds like pure bliss. But the common denominator in both situations is that you are alone or lonely. And while some of us
wow.
experience loneliness more than others, nobody on this
unsubbing.
planet could imagine,
guy
let
outta
alone
here, bro.
experience the loneliness
Mods,
that a
kick him
rogue
out.
planet experiences. When you think of planets, obviously you think of rock or gas formations floating around a sun. And in most cases, that is exactly what a planet is. But what if I told you there was a nearly countless number of planets that had no sun and no orbit whatsoever? They are simply flying aimlessly through space. No friends, no
Got you.
direction,
Okay,
just
he's
inertia
gone.
and
It's you,
loneliness. Now, I actually want to take a step back and unpack this a bit because if
Wait,
you
that low key doesn't make sense. So it's just a planet just sitting there. So at that point, by our standards, doesn't that make it Pluto? So it's not a planet, it's an asteroid? What he said in chat. What Ben said.
listen closely, you'd notice I say nearly countless number of rogue planets, and that is the case. For context, in the Milky Way alone, as I mentioned earlier, there's anywhere from 200 to 400 billion stars. And let's say on average there's 5 planets orbiting each of those stars. Assuming there is 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, that would mean that there is 2 trillion planets in our Milky Way galaxy that are orbiting stars. That alone is an insane number. However, it is estimated by scientists and astronomers that there is likely more rogue planets in the Milky Way than there is stars and starbound planets in the Milky Way combined. I don't know about you, but to me, that information when I first heard it was insane. And it's probably even more insane if you are just now hearing about rogue planets for the first time.
Yeah,
but the lore goes
this is
deeper.
the first
For
time.
starters, we need to discuss how these lone wolf planets even come to be. And there is actually 2 primary methods. The first method of rogue planet creation actually starts with a starbound planet. You see, sometimes when a planet in a solar system is misbehaving, other planets gang up to use their gravitational powers to eject that planet from the solar system. And in case the
Yo, what does he mean by that? I don't think that's how that works. There's no way that's how that works. So the planets just decide, the inanimate planets The planets are in a gang. Yeah, no, literally. No, literally, dude. What is this? That doesn't make sense. They could push planets away because of the gravitational pull of the sun and the other planets surrounding it? Necessarily?
Gravitational powers wasn't enough of a giveaway, I just made that up. But the truth
Okay, that
isn't
makes
too
sense.
far from that fiction. There are very real instances where gravitational interactions happen between planets and solar systems that end up ejecting planets from solar systems entirely, leading them on a brand new trajectory that has no formal orbit, turning a once starbound planet into a rogue planet, completely shifting life as that planet had known it. The other way that rogue planets are formed are through the same process that stars used to form. The only difference is, however, that rogue planets that form through this process do not gain the mass required to become a star and do not essentially ignite, turning into, well, what a star becomes. And interestingly, it's believed that most of the rogue planets are formed through this method. And most of the planets that form through this method are large gas giants, unsurprisingly, and they're actually typically warm, not the freezing cold wasteland you would assume a rogue planet to be. Now, interestingly, there is some debate on whether or not planets formed through this method are actually planets or if they're brown dwarf stars. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to consider them planets. Also because these rogue planets are really the only
If we don't count Pluto as a planet, I don't think these are planets. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is just an asteroid or a dwarf star, like he called it.
rogue planets we have information about, simply because these massive gas giant rogue planets are the easiest to observe and study because they are somewhat just barely visible due to their size and small amount of light, which is in direct contrast to the smaller rock planets that are essentially invisible to image detection used by astronomers. And it's for that reason that studying rogue planets is extremely hard. They have no known trajectory, they don't
makes
even have a
sense.
purpose, there's nothing around them, no light source, and they are simply lone wolves on their own mission. So just remember that if you ever feel lonely,
Does that necessarily mean that the planet, if it keeps traveling, can it join another solar system? That would make sense, right?
laying in your bed,
If
there
I'm
are
not
planets
wrong.
in our very galaxy that are light years from any solar system, and even those solar systems that they are closest to are still impossibly far away, and also not their home. And their home was either a place that they were rejected from or never even had in the first place. But in case you feel rejected or like you need a home, feel free to subscribe to the Trust Me Bro channel, because we are always accepting new bros, and we have the best community on YouTube. Oh, and we also post cool videos every Friday. So if you like videos like this one, definitely feel free to subscribe, and maybe even like the video if you want a part 2 about crazy things in space. But enough of that, back to the video. The Space Angels. The year
No, Loki, you give this guy some support. This is an amazing video.
is 1984, and you are a Russian cosmonaut aboard the Soviet space
Yep.
station, Salyut 7. Aboard the space station with you are 2 fellow cosmonauts, and the 3 of you
I'm down to VC for the tourney. Yeah, I'll be on. I'll give you a Discord call.
were on the space station to conduct low-orbit experiments. But while spending time in space and working as an astronaut may seem like a dream come true to many, to you and your team, your time in space was anything but pleasant. During your time on the space station, you and your team experienced fuel leaks, loss of power, and other critical errors that demanded a lot of mental and physical attention. And it was for that reason, near the end of your trip, you were excited to come home. Although, in one of the final days on your stay in the Soviet space station, you and your 2 colleagues experienced something you have never seen before. The day was ending like any other. However, you were noticing something your colleagues were not. It almost seemed like the cabin of the space station was filling up with some sort of orange dust. Not physical dust, but almost a thick orange light. But almost after you began to process what you could be looking at, you notice a bright light filling the cabin. And this light was observed not only by you, but by the 2 other cosmonauts as well. But the bright light that filled the cabin seemed almost blinding, and you had to shield your eyes. That is, until moments later, it appeared to subside, and you decide to look out the window of the space station to see what is going on. And it is at this moment when you and your cosmonaut colleagues look out the window and see something you have never seen before. These massive figures seem to have wings, faces, and they are comparable to the size of
I thought we were talking about space. What's going on? What's going on right now?
These story buildings. They are a bright orange light, and they have a calm, smiling demeanor and appear to just be observing the station. At first, you had to imagine that you were simply losing your mind, although when your two colleagues confirmed that they had seen the same thing, you were all left in awe, as what you have just seen seemed impossible. And only moments later, what you had just been looking at was gone, and you were only left with the memory of one of the most insane things you could ever see in space. Not many days after this experience, you are picked up from your ship and brought home, and once home, you begin to retell the story of what you saw, and the legend of the Space Angel of Salyut 7 begins. For the last entry on this video, I definitely wanted to kind of switch it up, and obviously this isn't.
I could explain that right now. Yo, you know what just happened? Lack of sleep. Or they just made that shit up. Yo, they could have low-key just made that shit up. That's the only one I don't believe, I'm gonna be honest.
A scientific discovery. This is definitely more or less of a debated phenomenon that is still not understood to this day. And well, I wanted to leave things, I guess, on a cliffhanger. Unlike every other entry in this video, this sighting or reporting wasn't discovered by a scientist on ground. It was discovered by a cosmonaut literally in a space station. And for those who don't know, a cosmonaut is simply a Russian astronaut. Now, back to this insane story. Every single member of the crew that was on the space station confirmed that they saw these massive angels for multiple minutes, and each one of them told the exact same story about what they saw. Now, interestingly, when they came back to Earth to tell the story of what they saw at the end of their trip, it was all written off almost immediately. People were claiming that they all shared the same hallucination, and for that reason, this information wasn't necessarily made public until the fall of the Soviet Union years later. Interestingly, these glowing angelic figures were not only seen by the first crew of Salyut 7, and it was reported that another crew years later also witnessed the exact same phenomenon. Although the scientific community was very quick to strongly reject any sort of supernatural beings actually being present during this sighting. One of the theories that scientists presented to try to make sense of this entire situation was that what they were seeing was an extreme case of atmospheric and optical effects combined with human perception under stress. Now, it was known that the missions that these crews embarked on the Soviet space station were not pleasant in the slightest. They both encountered numerous issues, and also being in space in general is not an easy task, and it's for that reason that it's not unlikely for there to be some sort of, well, mind tricks at play, but that doesn't explain everything. And another theory suggests that there is probably some sort of rare plasma or aura-like phenomenon reacting with sunlight at the orbital altitude that the space station was at, creating this interesting visual phenomenon, which isn't impossible, but it's also not confirmed. This story, while interesting, has no concrete ending and is kind of still to this day open to interpretation. And in the comments below, I kind of want to start a conversation of what you guys think this
I'm on
could
the
be.
scientist
I know I
side
didn't give too
on
much
this.
information, but if multiple groups of cosmonauts saw the same thing on multiple times, could it be that they were all simply sharing a hallucination? Could it be that they were all under the same mental stress? Could it be the perfect Goldilocks zone for some sort of plasma-induced light? Or was there something more at play here? I personally have no idea, and this could be supernatural or nothing of the sort. And maybe all of these cosmonauts were just lying just for a gag, but realistically, we don't know, and the truth is, we likely never will. Which, for that reason, might make this the craziest and potentially scariest entry on the entire list. I really hate to leave it on a cliffhanger, but I thought this entry was too interesting not to add on this space video. And I guess with that being said, if you guys want more videos about space, please feel free to leave a like or even leave a comment below saying part 2 or just more space videos. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen right now. It is a video about things that science still can't explain. And in that video,
That was a W video. That was a W video. Make sure to go like and subscribe to this video, and make sure to go subscribe to Trust Me, bro. W video. I liked that a lot. It was a lot. It was pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I liked that a lot. But now we're gonna be transitioning. So I'll see you at YouTube.